Hello you guys, welcome back to Xicana Boxing on YouTube. Now this week we're coming up to a huge fight, one of the most anticipated fights in 2020. We have Lomachenko versus Lopez on ESPN and ESPN Plus this Saturday. Now of course we've all kind of gotten the taste of what most of us predict this fight will end up, and there's most likely two different outcomes that could be in this fight based on the styles that we've seen previously from both Lomachenko and Teofilo Lopez, and that kind of gives us an idea of what we can expect. And this video is just for me to give you my analysis and my prediction. As many of you asked me via DM, I thought I'd make a video out of it. And of course, whether I was making a prediction video or not, I've been watching tape on these guys, both Teofilo's fights and Lomachenko's fights, and watching the fights only makes me that much more excited. And as I said, we kind of have a feeling based on the fighters how this fight could end up, and I'm really excited to hear you guys' input too. So go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think, like, subscribe, and let's get on with the prediction. All right, starting off with the tell of the tape, I have this awesome image by Fight Posse, in which you guys should follow both on Instagram and Twitter, because this guy makes amazing graphics, amazing drawings. As you can see, this one, Lomachenko versus Lopez, undisputed lightweight championship. And we have the tell of the tape here with Lomachenko being 10 years Teofilo senior with 32 years of age, as opposed to 22 by Teofilo Lopez. Now, as we know, a lot of people are painting this fight to be a youth versus experience type of moment, right? A time where maybe Lomachenko could be passing that torch over to now a bigger Teofilo, a guy who has made a statement before in his fights with his knockout power, and perhaps this could be a passing of the torch moment should Lomachenko fall victim to Teofilo Lopez and his Fortnite celebratory dances, right? However, a lot of people, regardless of Lomachenko's age, know that he kind of started in the professionals later in his career, as most Eastern Europeans do, and that hasn't necessarily his age hasn't necessarily seem to have an effect on his performance as much as the weight going up in weight has, right? Now, coming on to height, we do have Lomachenko 1 inch shorter than Teofilo Lopez at 5'7", with Teofilo Lopez 5'8". Not a huge difference. I don't think the height is going to be as much of a factor in this fight as much as the reach. As you can see here, the reach for Teofilo is 3 whole inches more than Lomachenko at 68.5, and Lomachenko 65.5. Now, as we know, Lomachenko has no problem coming in and getting out quickly, getting in there, using his angles to just get out real quick. However, with Teofilo having the reach advantage, he's able to maintain his distance should he utilize the jab properly, which I'm sure he will. He'll be trying to utilize his jab to maintain distance and be able to land those shots more comfortably without having to expose himself to Lomachenko's, fast punches coming in out of all angles. So that reach advantage is definitely much more important than the height advantage, in my opinion, and I think it could play an important factor coming this Saturday on Fight Night. As we see at the bottom, we do have WBA and WBO titles for High-Tech Lomachenko and the IBF for Teofilo. So again, this is a undisputed unification fight. Now, as we know, Devin Haney has his own thing with the WBC and the franchise thing, and a lot of people do say that this will not be an undisputed champion until they face Devin Haney. You can have your own opinion and you can drop that on the comments as well. I personally think whoever wins this is undisputed, in my opinion, and maybe we'll go on about that in another video on Saturday's fight party. We can discuss that. However, as we know, Teofilo Lopez just acquired the IBF title via devastating knockout against Richard Comey, which in my opinion was a huge test, supposed to be a huge test for Teofilo Lopez, and he disposed of him so quickly within 3 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a huge statement for the division, and for Teofilo to dispose of Richard Comey that way, it only intrigues you more to see the damage he can make to Lomachenko. Now, we do have to admire Teofilo Lopez, because regardless of him just winning his title in his last fight, he is immediately going to unify. He's immediately going to the I feel like most fighters, they like to hold on to their titles a little bit longer. They do like to face, their mandatories. They do like to face other fighters just to kind of continue testing the waters and holding on to that belt as much as you can before taking on a very risky fighter. And for Teofimo to just go straight to Lomachenko speaks volumes of what this kid is in for and what this kid believes he can do and what he's capable of against someone like Lomachenko. Now, Lomachenko, as we know, started at 126, if I'm not mistaken, and then went to 130, now 135. He was the fastest guy to become a 3-division world champion with only 15 fights. They both, I believe, only have around 15, 16 fights. So again, this guy, a lot of people have different thoughts on him, saying, oh, he's gonna get exposed, oh, he's just a hype job, which to me, I don't know how you can call Lomachenko a hype job. To me, that is just ridiculous. No offense to those who think so, but please, I don't know what the hell you guys are looking at. It's intense how badly this guy makes guys look, and good guys. He makes them look ridiculous. However, now going up in weight, we've seen him struggle a little bit more because of the weight. The weight, I feel, is going to be the biggest factor in this fight, because yes, Lomachenko is a guy that, regardless of his weight, he does have tremendous skill in the ring. He does have a ridiculous amount of skill inside the ring. He has angles, he has footwork, he has fast hands, right? So that all those things combined kind of make his, dance partners in the ring mentally unstable. They begin getting frustrated, and if he can do that to Teofimo, where Teofimo just begins to get frustrated and throwing for the fences, then it will be an easy night for Lomachenko. But again, Lomachenko he became, I think, a champion at 135 by defeating, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, you guys can correct me in the comments, but I think he became a 135 champion by defeating Linares, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's when he became a 3-division world champ, by defeating Linares. And then he became unified when he beat Pedraza, if I'm not mistaken, right? Pedraza, when he beat Pedraza, then he became a unified champion. And as we know, a lot of people criticize him for that Pedraza fight because, of course, they compared it to Gervonta and how easily Gervonta had disposed of Pedraza as compared to Lomachenko, who most people praise as some, godly, skilled level dude. And I think, again, in this, what plays a huge role in that is size. It's size and it's power. Lomachenko's not a guy that has tremendous power. The way he disposes of his opponents, the way he discards of them, is by mentally fucking them first, right? The guys get frustrated. They're like, I can't touch him. Or he just comes at them, overwhelms them with the angles coming all over the place. He literally reminds me of, I don't know if you guys watch Dragon Ball Z, when they're fighting and then they're right here and all of a sudden they're over here. That's literally what Lomachenko reminds me of. So as we know, I think as skilled as Lomachenko is, the size advantage coming up to 135 has made his skills a little bit more, he has to be more skillful because of the lack of power. I'm not saying he doesn't have any power. We've seen what he did to Crolla, that English dude mandatory that he had, face down, ass up type of thing, right? And we've seen him knock guys out, but it's not been as devastating as Teofimo, who literally lays dead motherfuckers up on the floor. Like, they are on the canvas, right? We see the power Teofimo has. So as much as this is an experience versus youth type of thing, I think it's more of a weight class and power type of thing, right? Because if I'm being quite honest here, I don't think Lomachenko should be in this weight class. I think Lomachenko should go back down to 130 and, kind of do his reign there. I appreciate him as well for trying to be great and being up in this higher weight class. But I think if there's anybody in the division who could be like, motherfucker, go back down, it's going to be Teofimo Lopez. Now, let's look at the disadvantages, because I think I already spoke about Lomachenko's disadvantages. Lomachenko's disadvantages specifically in this fight is size. Right? It's his size. He is shorter and has a shorter reach than Teofimo Lopez, and he is smaller frame than Teofimo Lopez, because we, again, on Instagram pictures, we see Teofimo Lopez with his huge shoulders, broad shoulders. He's ripped, right? He's jacked, big muscles. You don't see that on Lomachenko. He's not ripped like so. So I think that's a disadvantage for, not the muscles necessarily. Muscles don't win you boxing fights, but size and short reach disadvantage. Definitely going to be big factors, the biggest factors in my opinion for this fight. Now, in my opinion, those are the only disadvantages Lomachenko has. I don't see age as a disadvantage. I don't think him being 10 years older than Teofimo Lopez is a negative factor. In the contrary, I think this is a positive for Lomachenko. So I think the only disadvantages Lomachenko has on this is definitely just size. He shouldn't be at 135, and I think Teofimo might make that night made him clear of that, that he should not be at 135. So definitely reach and size disadvantages, huge disadvantages for Lomachenko coming into this fight. Now, as we saw, Lomachenko has, again, as I mentioned, has been struggling at 135 because he hasn't been able to dispose of his fighters that easily or make them quit that much. A lot of people can argue that Linares quit. I don't think he quit. I think he was dead ass, like that was a liver shot and he was just done. He was toasted, like that was it. So, but he did get dropped in that fight. And he did get dropped in that fight, and he did fight harder. Those scorecards were very close, I believe, prior to the knockout that he did win. And of course, against Pedraza that I mentioned, yes, he dropped Pedraza, but again, he has to go the distance. I think he won the distance, right? Was it the distance or 11th round? I think he won the distance. Now, as we see here with Luke Campbell, again, a guy that Lomachenko beat every round, and you can still win every round and still had it been competitive. This guy gave Lomachenko a run for his money, and I think Luke Campbell got a lot of respect from people with this fight against Lomachenko. And again, yes, Lomachenko dropped this guy a couple times, hurt him a little bit, kind of pushed him around here and there, but he didn't knock him out. So I believe, again, because of his size disadvantage against these guys, it does take a toll. It is making a difference. The size is in fact making a difference on how quickly he does dispose of his opponents. Yes, he's still disposing of them. Yes, he still looks tremendous, but he's not knocking them out in the fashion that we see Teofimo Lopez in his weight class be so assertively just knockout power guy, right? Let's move on to Teofimo's disadvantages. In my opinion, Teofimo's disadvantages is the fact that he jumped into a unification so fast. I know he doesn't believe that, and I appreciate that, and I really hope he proves me wrong. I really hope. I'm not one to pick a guy over the other. I'm not rooting for anybody specifically. I do just want a really good fight. So I do hope that Teofimo proves us wrong, because in my opinion, I feel like he should have taken a little bit more fights, a little bit more unification. I mean, he should have taken a little bit more fights, a little bit more mandatories in order to kind of get his feet wet a little bit more until then facing Lomachenko. I think he should have definitely done that, but I welcome him to prove me wrong. I will be ecstatic if he proves me wrong. But I do think that, yes, you can say, well, they have the same fights. They do have about 15 fights each. Who cares? Both of these guys have a little bit of fights. But this guy, Lomachenko, is a god in the amateurs. This guy, I know a lot of people say, that's amateurs. It doesn't translate well to, real pro boxing. Not with this dude. I feel like with Lomachenko's experience and having that much amateur background, it does help him. What is he at? Like 300, over 300 fights? I feel like he's seen a lot, and he's been in the ring with a lot of people that Teofimo in there. It's just like, that's another guy with power. He just has power. You know what I mean? And maybe Teofimo has more than power, but we have yet to see, right? Because of his tremendous ass knockouts that we've seen, that we focus on power. Maybe he has better boxing ability that we're giving him credit for, because we have yet to see it. But maybe this will be the fight that Lomachenko brings that out of him, right? So that's one of my disadvantages, the inexperience in the pros. And I'm not trying to downplay this. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it would be better if Teofimo had a little bit more fights. I know he's been knocking out guys devastating fashion, but I think a little bit more fights would have been great. Maybe some other opponents here and there, because as we saw in his fight against the Asian kid, and forgive me because I don't remember his name, but I will put it here somewhere. The guy was a lengthy, undefeated guy, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, Teofimo Lopez defeated that guy, but he did struggle against him. Now, will he have those same struggles as Lomachenko? Probably not, because that struggle with that Asian kid was that he was very tall, right? And Teofimo Lopez in the post-fight interview was very vocal about that. Was like, this guy's tall. And he said something along the lines of, I don't want to fight anybody tall again, which back then that threw me off, because you don't get to pick who your opponents are going to, what they're going to be look like, if they're mandatories or if they're, you know, the other champions. You have to work with what you got, and that's the point, to adapt.
Horrible, but you know, it is what it is. The guy he's tall, 6 foot, man. But you know what? From this point on, we fighting guys my height. So we don't got to worry about nobody else no more. No more tall guys or anything, man. It's a takeover still, man. They wanted to see me go the distance. I did 12 rounds and a backflip. I'm still in shape.
So that alone, when he said something along the lines of, I'm just not going to fight any tall fighters anymore, that gives me the idea that he is very quick to be like, well, no, I'm not trying to do this anymore. And if that's the case with Lomachenko, when it's like, oh, well, he moves too much, or he's just too, you know, throws too many punches, or comes at me from different angles, I just don't want to fight somebody else like that, then that kind of gives me a reason to think that Lomachenko has the advantage over Teofimo because of that alone. Now, another disadvantage that Teofimo has, in my opinion, is that he's very emotional, and you can see it in the what is it, Blood, Sweat, and Tears? I'm sorry, I watched both of the ESPN Top Rank things on the fight, like the build up to it. I just don't remember what it's called, but he's very emotional. You know, he spit on the ground and said, "You're nothing to me." I don't know, maybe he might just be trying to sell the fight. Props to you, Teofimo, if you just trying to sell the fight, because yes, I feel like everybody should watch this fight. However, if he's that emotional in the ring, that's when things could go wrong, because again, if you get frustrated fast, that only benefits Lomachenko unless you're headhunting and you catch him, right? If you're headhunting, a right hand can catch him and it's over for Lomachenko for that night, right? And it could work. But I think what he needs to do instead is definitely go to the body to you know, kind of slow Lomachenko down, and you know, also throw combinations to headhunt and get him upstairs. So I don't think he's gonna have a problem trying to catch Lomachenko with a big shot. I think if he gets frustrated and if he's that emotional inside of the ring, then he might have a bad night, because that's what Lomachenko thrives on. Lomachenko thrives on making fighters uncomfortable, of making them second guess themselves, of making them, you know, feel like they can't adapt to his style, and it's all mental. It's all up here for Lomachenko. So if Teofimo comes in that emotional, it cannot end well. So those are my disadvantages for Teofimo Lopez. Obviously, advantages: size. This guy is huge. This guy has power. This guy has tremendous punch, pop behind his punches. So I do feel like this is going to be a tremendous fight, and more than youth versus advantage, it's more of skill and ring generalship over power and just, you know, aggressiveness. So I am very excited for this fight, and I know you're like, Lily, you've gone on way too much on this. Just tell us who the fuck you think is gonna win. all right, I'll get to it. Let's go. So let's get to it. Who do I think is going to win this fight? Now, listing everything that I did and seeing again previous accomplishments for both of these fighters, you know, there's two outcomes to this, and I think given on the Twitter timeline, by the way, follow me on Twitter. On the Twitter timeline, I think we all have two predictions. We either, one, think that Teofimo Lopez is going to catch a smaller Lomachenko and put him on his ass and overwhelm him to the point that I don't think Lomachenko's gonna quit, but to the point of, okay, like, it's just gonna get stopped because the size will be too much, the power will be too much. Lomachenko's too small. Lomachenko has a shorter reach, so he would have to get in closer, come in, and, you know, basically expose himself to be caught by a stronger guy in Teofimo Lopez. So prediction number one, most people on Twitter, Teofimo, is his time. He makes a huge statement, not only in the division, but as a pound for pound candidate and fight of the year candidate. I feel like he has the power and the ability to knock out Lomachenko because of that size difference, right? So that's the one outcome. One possible outcome, Teofimo knocks Lomachenko out. I don't think cold. I don't think if it happens, it'll be like Lomachenko dead ass cold, like Baranchik status last couple weeks ago. But I do see more of a stoppage. I see if this does come out this way, I feel like the ref steps in for Lomachenko, or Lomachenko just takes several knees, and that's how it ends. Outcome two, Teofimo Lopez is just too young, too green, too inexperienced, because you can be a champion, and he is a champion, and he goddamn earned that IBF belt, right? He earned that fucking IBF belt. Yes, he did. But to beat Comey and to beat Lomachenko, those are two very different things. And as we know, Lomachenko is this defensive footwork, volume, angles guy, you know. So for Teofimo to go up against that with only 15, I believe, fights, it's more risky for him to just be a boxing clinic, to just be a prop to a boxing clinic by Lomachenko, for this to be a similar thing to Usyk versus Gassiev, where we know that Gassiev had that power, and any moment that he could end things, right? Any moment Gassiev could end the whole fucking thing. But Usyk with his footwork, you know, he's a Ukrainian too, he's like a big tall Lomachenko. He was like, no, I'm gonna outbox you, and I'm gonna negate any form of you trying to get and hurt me, and it's not gonna happen, right? And you can headhunt all you want, but it's not gonna happen. So I believe if Lomachenko can withstand power from Teofimo Lopez, and if he gets caught at all, you know, maybe Lomachenko makes it so that Teofimo can't even catch him properly, can't even catch him, you know, for the most part with his big powerful punches. So if Lomachenko can avoid all those shots or you know, get hit and take those punches, then it's going to be a smooth sailing for Lomachenko. Now that's the second outcome. I don't think it would be that smooth. I feel like it would be very similar to this fight, only more power. I see Lomachenko being down again, just like he was down with Linares. I feel like Lomachenko is going to hit the canvas once or twice in this fight, but overall I feel like he's going to overwhelm Teofimo Lopez and put on a boxing clinic. I'm not rooting for anybody in particular, I just want a good fight, but I am leaning more towards the more experienced fighter, the fighter who has shown throughout fights all his capabilities, and that regardless of being down and being against tough opponents, he's come victorious regardless. So because I'm looking at the actual tape, I'm looking at the actual, you know, I'm looking at what we've seen in fights, I'm going to have to predict Lomachenko wins by decision. I do think he goes down once or twice in this fight, and I do feel like Lomachenko is just too green. I mean, I do feel like Teofimo is just too green, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all. I mean this in the way that he only has 15 fights. Does he not deserve to be champion? I never said that. I said he could have had other fights to prepare him, get his feet wet for someone like Lomachenko. I think every time we see Lomachenko struggle, he comes back and it's just like, damn, look at this motherfucker. He's ridiculous. And I do feel like Lomachenko is one of those fighters that come every once in, I don't know, you know, decades. So I do feel like Lomachenko is going to beat Teofimo Lopez. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do think he does find his way to a unanimous decision. But like I said, one fucking right hand from Teofimo Lopez and it could crush my entire prediction, and I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if Lomachenko is on the floor and stopped, and I see Teofimo Lopez doing a backflip over him. You know, like, I would not be surprised about that. Now, I do want to make this message very clear, though. It's a big problem in the boxing community for people to be just hella rude and like, oh, these guys are bums, so oh, this guy got exposed. Winner or loser in this fight, I don't think anybody exposes anybody. I think these are two top dudes. I do think Lomachenko's, you know, levels above, as he should be. But I just feel like I hate to see when, you know, Teofimo's gonna expose Lomachenko and he's just a hype job. No, if Teofimo beats Lomachenko, because Lomachenko is such a great fighter and is still one of, in my opinion, whether he loses to Teofimo Lopez, one of the very special fighters that only come, you know, every decades or so, that only makes it that much bigger of a victory for Teofimo Lopez. And that only makes it so much of that, damn, if this dude with 15 fights can make history by defeating a guy like Lomachenko and making, again, history for Honduras. Shout out to Honduras, right? Because he already made history being a champion for Honduras. Now let's see if he beats Lomachenko. That's tremendous. And that will speak volumes of what this kid will accomplish in his own path in boxing. So whether whoever wins or loses, I don't think they're exposed. I don't think it changes anything much. If Lomachenko gets laid on his ass and stopped, boy, just go back down to 130 and do your work there, right? And do great fights there, because the size is a huge thing. In my opinion, the size is a huge fucking thing. And with Teofimo, right? With Teofimo, if he were to lose to Lomachenko, there's no shame to losing to Lomachenko. No shame at all to losing to someone like Lomachenko, the caliber, the stuff that he has proved in the ring. Now, of course, as I said, I'm going based on facts, which is why I'm picking Lomachenko to win by decision. But hey, I'm open to Teofimo being like, you want me to show you what I can do? Bet. And I'm going to, negate this guy's boxing skills and just bully him. And just straight up bully this guy, right? And he can do that. And even if he loses, I don't think that means, oh, Teofimo's career is over, he's done, Lomachenko exposed him. No. If he still loses to Lomachenko, I feel like Lomachenko should still, even if he wins, he should still go back down. And I feel like regardless of win or lose, Teofimo Lopez is going to be a great name in the division. And that kid is special. And that kid, regardless of he loses, that might be like a Mayweather-Canelo thing where he only gets better from it. So sometimes, they call it, you got schooled for a reason. Right? They always say Canelo got schooled by Mayweather, right? They might say, Usyk got skilled, Usyk schooled Garcia, but it's good. You go to school to learn, right? So sometimes being schooled is a good thing because you only learn from it. And Teofimo's so fucking young, 22 years old. The sky's the limit for this guy, win or lose. Win, if he wins, it'll be tremendous. If he loses, I don't think it's going to hurt his career in any way. Props to both of them for this amazing fight in COVID times, because as we know, we were all shitting bricks earlier in the summer because we thought this fight might not happen because of money stuff. So shout out to Lomachenko for taking a pay cut, and shout out to Teofimo for settling for a little bit less than he would have made of if there were a gate. So shout out to both of these fighters. This is gonna be free if you have cable and if you take other measures of online stuff. It's going to be a free fight on ESPN. ESPN Plus will have it as well, and it starts, I believe, at 4:30. The whole undercard type of thing. There's a lot of good undercard fights. I'm not going to get into it right now. This video is long enough. I'm going to try to do a live on Thursday at 5 p.m. and then we can say all our thoughts on our predictions, and of course fight watching party on Saturday. We're going to have a party like we've been doing with fights, with catching each of our reactions. We're going to be talking about what's going on, and of course telling ourselves our predictions that day, because we might change our mind, right? This is one of the fights that I've been like, hey, no, Lomachenko's just too small. Teofimo's gonna beat his ass. And then I'm like, no, but Teofimo doesn't have that many fights. No. Lomachenko. And then I'm like, no, dumbass, Teofimo's like, it's his time. He's just gonna pull it off. Watch. So these are one of those fights that I'm just like confused, and I'm constantly battling myself on these predictions. So yeah, right now I'm pushing for Lomachenko to win a unanimous decision or a split decision. I think it's gonna be unanimous, but tomorrow I might change my fucking mind. So let's go live tomorrow at 5 p.m. and let's have a fight watching party on Saturday. As soon as the action starts, we can actually start the party and get each other's reactions, okay? So again, let me know in the comments what you think of this fight. What are your predictions? Who are you pulling for? Sometimes your heart tells you one thing, but your head tells you something else, right? Let me know in the comments how you have this fight going. What fight are you most excited for in the undercard? And obviously tell your friends about the fight watching party so we can all have a good time and watch the fights together. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good fight week, y'all. Have a good fight week and see you on fight night.